Hi, this is Bill Hartzer, and this is the Digital Marketing with Bill Hartzer podcast for June 23rd, 2022. Lots of things to talk about this week. So I wanted to bring up an interesting situation where I think this particular situation can be applied or should be applied to a lot, to just about every industry. And this is something I've been doing for, let's say, over 20 years now, and it's been pretty successful for me in several different industries and sites. So the Facebook internet tracking settlement, just going through this as an example because I want to convey this as a template, if you will, for being successful in other areas and other industries, no matter what the site is or what industry you're in. So Facebook internet tracking settlement. So I basically received an email and saying that I was a member of the class action lawsuit regarding Facebook internet tracking. So essentially what the lawsuit and the class action lawsuit is about is that apparently if you had a Facebook account, and between, I don't remember the exact dates, between like April 2010 and January or September of 2011 or something like that. During that time frame, you had a Facebook account and you visited websites. So essentially, Facebook rather gave website owners the option of essentially to add a widget, okay? And that widget allowed you to put it on your website, and visitors to the website could actually add comments or share and like and so forth, from the website. Apparently, Facebook did not. My understanding is Facebook did not notify website visitors that they were being tracked. Okay, and so when you visit a website, you weren't. There was a tracking issue. They were gathering data, but you did not know about it. I believe that's the case. I may be wrong, but that is, that's the example of the case. So the bottom line is that I got this email. I was like, okay, well, you know what? My instinct, and this has been what I have focused on, if you will, and just made myself aware of that over the past 20 years, is that when there is something like this that potentially is related to your industry. Now, me being, having a blog about SEO, digital marketing, domain names, social media, et cetera, okay, great. Let me write about this. So basically using the premise and explaining this and explaining the class action. Where do you go? How do you fill the information out, et cetera, and caking some quotes and screen captures of the email and making a quick post, all of maybe 5-10 minutes at the most, right? Maybe longer, whatever. So making the post. The point here is that I got the email and I made the post. Okay, so in that situation, I got the email and I made the post quickly. And that's the whole point of this template, right? So the idea is that you have identified potentially a new keyword. You've identified a new keyword that potentially people could, it could be trending. So as a result of that, you make a post and you are the first one. Doesn't matter whether you are the best or whether your content is the best. It's the fact that you are the first one to get the post done or the article done or the page done on targeting that keyword or that concept or that phrase, and you get it crawled and indexed. What actually happens is when you are the first. That's when you are the first, you have the biggest advantage. If it's breaking news item, if it's something that then kind of explodes, right? Journalists, reporters will search the internet for the information. Guess what? You're already posted about it, so you must know something about it. Not necessarily, but you're the first, you're there. So they will end up linking to you. They'll end up mentioning you. They might actually call you on the phone. They'll call you on the phone and say, hey, Bill, what's going on with this Facebook internet tracking settlement? You can then offer your opinion. That's how you get quoted. That's how you get. It's not because you're necessarily an authority on that subject, but you are the first. You're the first to get the post out there. You're the first to get that page crawled and indexed. And over 20 years, I've learned that that is giving you a huge advantage. So not only do you potentially, if you're the only site talking about that subject and someone searches for it, well, you're going to get the traffic. So you get if we're talking about potential ranking factors, if we're talking about you're the only one who's talking about it, you have a page indexed and people are searching for it, you're going to get like 100% click-through rate on your search result. Now, if that's a ranking factor, well, gee, everybody's clicking on your page. Okay. If that's a ranking factor, then it's an advantage, right? And it continues to snowball from there. You said you end up being, if someone else writes a post or an article or something about it, they probably will link to you because you're the only one there. That's the whole idea. Okay. I don't care if it's social media or whatever topic it is. It could be woodworking. It could be, it could be, modular homes. It could be boilers. It could be, home inspection. It could be, whatever it is. If there's, keep in your industry, you want to be aware of, new laws, new rules, news in the industry, new stuff that's happening, because if you're the first, you have the advantage over anybody else. Now, granted, CNN may come along and write an article about it, and yeah, they may or may not rank for that and compete against you. But that, you don't, in this case, it does not matter how powerful your site is. As long as you have the ability to be first, that is the first has the advantage. Now, what I can also say about that is that, there will be social shares. So, if somebody also starts to talk about it and reads it and searches for it, there's there are places to look for trending searches. Okay. There's things, there's I talked about before the Google in Google Chrome and in mobile. You can do a search for a keyword, and then you can kind of get rid of that keyword and look at, and there's a drop down, and there will actually be trending phrases that are like essentially just mostly are news items, but there's going to be trending keywords, right? That Google gives you, and maybe it's the top 10 or 20 or so trending keywords in your area. But frankly, that's if something comes up, write about it, right? Those are keyword searches and queries. So again, I really love to take advantage of this opportunity to be first. And what I can say is that finally, you need to put yourself in a position where you can be first. Okay. Do you have a situation where on your website you have a blog, and if something comes up that you need to post quickly about, right? Maybe there's, something happens and you need to close your restaurant for the day. In your restaurant, you need the ability to go on there quickly and close and post that. Are you in a situation where you can make a new page quickly and put it on the site somewhere? Maybe link it from the homepage. Maybe not. Maybe because of the, maybe you have to, you have a separate web developer and so forth, and you have to then go through this process of, of having a writer write the content, having it edited, having it reviewed, and then you have to have your graphic designer create a graphic for it. That's not going to happen in this situation. You need to be in a position where if something comes up, you can write 2 or 3 paragraphs and post and ask Google to index that page. And that's going to be the advantage. If it's going to take you half a day, a week, whatever, that's not going to work in this case. It just is not. So maybe it's taking advantage of it by creating a separate Medium account, creating a separate blog, that's on a subdomain, blog dot whatever, and then you can have the ability to post like that. This is a big deal. And I've seen sites and companies start to do this, and even myself, and overnight, literally, to be noticed with thousands of visitors, not because some big media company, some CNN, Fox News, CBS TV visited your business and did an article, and wrote an article and did a video, and you're on the news. That's difficult. This part is easy because you're using essentially your skill set as somebody who's being aware of the industry and having something come up that then you just quickly write about it. Now, it doesn't mean you can't go back later on. And in fact, the next day, because I was getting thousands of visitors to that page, I decided, well, let's create a video. So I created a video, a 3-4 minute video, put on YouTube, uploaded that. And guess what? Now I've got, within minutes, I had the video ranking and my article ranking, and I got both advantage. Now, and got the views that continue. So in this situation, you can go back, and it's perfectly acceptable to go back and edit, re-edit, add more content, do whatever. But the advantage is being first. So moving on, Unconfirmed Google ranking update, June 23rd, which is today. Apparently we're going through an update. My opinion there is the fact that, look back, we just had a big core update. I believe this is Google going back probably and fixing some things that may have been broken or something, or doing some addition to this big core update. That's just my opinion. It's not confirmed. It's unconfirmed. We don't, Google has not officially said there's a Google ranking update, but apparently because of tools that follow search results like SEMrush, et cetera, those are seeing ranking changes across the board. Now, I have a challenge for you. I am actually I do a couple SEO audits every week for clients and sites and people that come to me and say, hey, I really need to figure out what's going on with this site because none of our SEOs can figure it out. So they come to me. This is an interesting situation. So we have a situation where I crawled the site and with multiple crawlers, and those crawlers are saying that the HTTP www.domain.com, the home page, which was the old home page, HTTP version, apparently that old HTTP version of the homepage is being seen as an orphaned page. It's being flagged as an orphaned page. Now, an orphaned page is, you need to take care of those, number one. Now, definition of an orphaned page is a page when you type in that address of that URL, that it comes up and it is a legitimate page, that the server header, which you may not see, when you browse the page, the server header is a 200 OK. That means that this is a legitimate page and can it get indexed. Now, the other thing is that it's not a redirect. So HTTP www.domain.com, that HTTP version, if it does not redirect, it's a 200 OK, then, and it's not linked from any other pages on the site, that is truly an orphaned page. It could be an old, maybe you have an employee page that has employee bio. This happens all the time. We have a page where we list our employees, our team members. Well, Julie left the company to go to another agency, and we still have her page, her bio page, right, on the site. It's still a live page, but as far as we're concerned, you go to the team page and she's not listed as an employee, so there's no link to her page, but her page actually still exists and it can actually still rank. However, when you crawl the site page to page to page to page, you never see Julie's page, right? But the page still exists. It still exists, very much so, and it can rank. That's an orphan page. It's not redirected. It's not a 404. It has not been removed, right? Well, the HTTP www version of this site's homepage is an orphaned page. It comes up. When you crawl the site, you crawl and you look at all the internal links are all to HTTPS pages. But this HTTP www, at certain times for the crawlers, it's a real page. For visitors, those are being redirected. So when I go to the page and type in HTTP www.domain.com, I get redirected. Two things could be happening. I know that the WordPress plugin in particular is being used for the redirect, right? Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Could depend on site traffic or some internal server issue. I actually prefer to do redirects by the htaccess file and not through a plugin. Number two is the site could be hacked. That plugin could be hacked and bots could be seeing the HTTP. In fact, when certain people go to the HTTP version or search engine crawlers, etc., any crawler, they could see that one version of the page and everybody else is redirected to HTTPS. It's possible since there is scenarios are going on. That's something that a tech issue, and that's something that I deal with. And if you're having an issue like this, this is why we get SEO audits. This is why you need somebody with technical experience, such as myself, and the experience to do technical audits to actually find issues like this, because this, like I said, could be a major issue. It could be a small little thing, but again, it's something that is not normal, right? So the other issue, finally, I'd like to mention is things that Google things that you do on your website that causes Google to reevaluate a page or reevaluate multiple pages or reevaluate the site as a whole. Now, I have a situation where that I know about that I'm working on. And I'm not going to name the site because it doesn't really matter. But essentially what's happened is that this site has been around for, let's say, 10 years. Years ago, they created a few thousand pages that were just thin content pages, city pages, essentially, right? So, they perform their service in Texas, and they wanted to, expand and kind of had maybe 500 cities in Texas, right? And so they created a page for every city, and those pages, because there's very low competition, extremely low, like nobody even creating a page for the city name plus keyword because it's such a small city. But if you add 500, you add 1,000 pages like that, it can actually lead to, even those 1 or 2 visits a month for those cities, and sometimes one or 2 visits every 3 months or 6 months, it can kind of add up to some additional business. Now, the majority of the site, though, is these thin content pages that really don't go doorway pages. They go against Google's guidelines. They shouldn't be there. But the site itself has gone for 10 years, 10 plus years with these pages. Google doesn't apparently have a problem. Now, that said, an SEO firm came in and said, you know what, you would need to clean up those pages, and they disallowed them from indexing. Okay, nothing happens. There was some additional quality, the main site was the quality pages. The 500 to 1,000 pages was not an issue, really an issue, because of what, in fact, traffic went up because of the fact that they got rid of all this low quality stuff, right? They didn't remove the pages. They just stop crawling them, allowing the crawl in robust.txt file. Now, what happens subsequently, they got kind of greedy and said, you know what, we're not getting some leads from those other cities. Let's just turn that back on. So they came, and a few months later, they made that decision, and they allowed those pages to get crawled and indexed again, thinking, hey, these pages we're ranking, let's turn them back on, let's get the ranking, let's get them back. Well, guess what? This caused Google to reevaluate those pages again. And guess what? Those pages actually ended up not ranking and hurting the site, because Google reevaluated the whole entire site because you allowed those pages to be reindexed again. So, causing Google to reevaluate pages in a site is not necessarily the best thing. Now, I've seen other situations where, okay, we have a page that's ranking well, but we're going to kind of change some URLs around. This page is ranking well. We're going to 301 redirect it to a new URL because we don't like this particular URL and it's ranking. And it's ranking really well. Let's say, second or third, fifth position. You do a 301 redirect, you only change the URL, but guess what? You don't really change content, but Google ends up reevaluating the page and it loses rankings. It has been ranking there for years. Again, you did something that caused Google to reevaluate a page and reevaluate a site. That's not always recommended to do that, right? Anyway, that's my thoughts for today. Today is Thursday, June 23rd. This is the Digital Marketing Podcast, or Digital Marketing with Bill Hartzer podcast for Thursday, June 23rd. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. I will see you online. Again, if you want to look back and think you are maybe do some money from Facebook with the Facebook Internet Tracking Settlement that I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, check billhartzer.com and you'll see it. And there should be a way to link over to the Facebook Internet Tracking Settlement page where you can submit your claim.